Whew. Well, I certainly didn't expect to be having this conversation and making this video anytime soon, but yes, as the video title suggests, I did get laid off today from my job. I was a little thrown off. It was a little unexpected. Our department had basically been reduced outside of the budget. There's several flowery business terms to say it, but our positions were eliminated. But you know, I'm certainly not in a state of sadness. Before I go any further, I want to make sure that I'm extremely clear. This is not like a call for sympathy or anything like that. We're straight. As long as Jesus is on the throne, we are straight. Like me, my wife, my kids, we're good. You guys probably know this about us, but we're extremely frugal, especially me. Like, if I buy anything that's $50 or more, it takes me months of research and negotiating with myself before I buy it. So we're pretty good. Somewhere I heard Dave Ramsey say, I think it was Dave Ramsey, it could have been somebody else, but I thought I heard Dave Ramsey say at one point in time, have at least 3 months as a baseline saved away in the event you have a major need for cash or if you lose your job. And so I heard that and I told my wife, we got to start saving and putting money away in another account just in case something happens. And thankfully, you know, thanks be to God, we did that. And so we're fine. I don't want anybody to feel sad or sorry for us. The world is going through much worse than what we are going through now. But it was certainly a shock. I didn't cry. But I was like, oh my gosh, just bought this house and have these babies. But like I said, we're a family of faith, as you guys know, and there was just a peace about it. There was a peace. I have 3 things, and as I've been thinking about it since then to now, the moment that I got told that I was being let go to now, I was thinking, you know, what are some things that I could have done to prepare? So the 3 things I've come up with, some things I've done, some things I haven't. The first thing is to make sure, like I mentioned before, is to have a nice nest egg set aside for a rainy day fund, some people might call it. 3 months is a good place to start, because if you have that, if you look at your itemized expenditures, so to speak, to use a nice flowery word. So for us, I just knew that if I put a certain amount of money away, we can continue to live as normal without having to make major changes for at least 3 months. And of course, you want to push that out to 6 months and then even a year if possible, if not further. So that's the first thing I would do is try to save and plan and budget and be frugal when you need to be, so that you could build that emergency fund up. The second thing that I would have told a younger version of myself, and I'm not good at this, is to keep your resume up to date. I've helped, I don't know how many people with their resumes over the years, and I very seldomly touch mine because I'm a loyalist. When I get a job, I don't anticipate leaving for a while, and so I feel like it's tempting if I start messing with my resume to go and see what I'm worth in the marketplace, as my dad likes to say. So regardless, I think it's wonderful, 6 months at least every year, going in and updating your resume, because you might have done some stuff that was outside of your job description that's really good to capture, you know, getting into go-to-market strategies, or, you know, doing any type of data analysis, or getting into sales and stuff like that, pricing that you may have not even thought of. Make sure you capture that before you forget it. So keep that resume up to date. The third thing that I would tell anybody prior to getting laid off, because you never know when it's going to happen, is to please continue to work your contacts within your network. You've met so many people along the way, whether that's high school, college, and then once you got into the field of work, whatever industry you're in, that you never know what can happen. I would recommend not to keep in contact with folks with the sole intent to use them, but really to get a good value out of a good mutual friendship, and then to be able to serve. That's one of the most important things. And I could see in the last decade or so, I've been fortunate, I haven't had to run into a job loss situation. And so I've been able to help people. I've been able to give financially. I've been able to write reviews and write recommendations and edit resumes. And that stuff comes back around. People remember that when you are going through something. And so, like I said, those are some tips. If I had to go through this planning again, which as soon as I get another job, guess what? I'm on the planning phase for this again. 3 months minimum saved up, making sure your finances are in order for sure, making sure your resume is up to date, and then, because you never know when you might be somewhere out at a place, hey, let me forward you my resume. You make a good connection with somebody, and boom, there you go, off to the races. And then of course, third, making sure you're working those networks and your contacts. So, I believe if you do those things, and if us as a family just continue to keep that and be disciplined with that, then if you think of a race as a metaphor, it'd be like you having a running start versus someone standing flat-footed at the start. It's almost like you're closer to the finish line, and that finish line is getting a job. If you're kind of caught flat-footed and off balance, then you got a long 400 meters to run, or however long it is. But if you have a running start, it's like you get an advantage, and you don't have to go through that startup period when you start the startup phase of a race and building up to max speed. You're already there. And I just believe that if you plan, then you're going to be in a position to not just financially be okay, but mentally be okay. We have peace. We're not in a position where we need to go out and make a desperate call, a desperate decision, and take the first job that presents itself. Having that nest egg gives you an opportunity to wait for the best experience. And one thing that I would tell, obviously those 3 tips that I gave were for people who, haven't gone through job loss yet, or before a job loss occurs. But for those who have gone through it, I've been thinking about that over the last couple of hours, was just to take a step back, think about your contacts, think about your network, think about who you can contact and connect with. But also, and probably even more importantly, if there's a silver lining in this, reassess your purpose and what your goals are. Because, my boss's boss asked me a couple of weeks ago, Jamar, what's your purpose and where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? What are your professional goals? And I couldn't answer him. And I realized after I hung up was, man, like my ambition, I think it's good not to have like an unnatural ambition, but as far as my drive to chart a path at the very least, that was kind of gone. I was focused on some other things. And this going through a job loss allows me to reassess, what field do I want to be in? How long do I want to be in there? Do I even want to work in corporate America? Do I want to try some entrepreneurship? These are some great opportunities because you have some time. In most situations, most of you guys, if you go through a job loss, you have a little time before you absolutely have to get back into it. You have to start looking at, obviously, your resume, your contacts. You have to look into government assistance programs, unemployment. If you've been paying into the system, it's only right that you get something. You got time if you work the resources. So understand what needs to be done. Get your resume up to snuff. Put some fires out there, or cast your rod, or whatever people say in different parts of the country. I've heard all sorts of weird stuff being down here in the Deep South, which is fun. I've adopted it. Buy once, cry once, for example. But yeah, and yeah, so we're trusting God. We're a family of faith, and we believe that He gives us peace beyond understanding. And both me and my wife, it's hard to believe, but we're pretty cool. We get a chance to spend more time with the girls. I get a chance to give and serve more in my community, my church, et cetera, et cetera. I get a chance to work off this dad bod that I've acquired, which is something that I've really been looking forward to doing, and now I could actually do it. So there's opportunities. I don't feel like it's all doom and gloom. There is certainly silver lining. So our family's doing good. Continue to pray for us. Check up on us, check in on us, whatever it may be, if you feel like it. And we're gonna be okay, and we're gonna continue to push out content. We're gonna continue to just talk about our journey and our story, and document the twin girls that we have, and all sorts of stuff. And once things open up again, we'll do some more adventures. We got some certainly on the hard drive that we didn't know if it was appropriate to share during the COVID-19 stuff. But we'll be dropping it soon as things open back up. So God bless, stay encouraged, be safe out there, and we'll talk soon. Peace.